This thing here, it's a piece of stick. It's called a chashaku. It's a bamboo scoop for measuring matcha. I know what you're thinking. It's very unimpressive. The first time I saw this, I thought this was like a half a chopstick. So I was like, where's the other one? However, it really embodies the spirit of Japanese tea. I'll tell you why in this video. And at the end of this video, I'll also give you a bonus. If you have a chashaku, I'll tell you how you can tell whether your chashaku is a special one or not. By the way, this is Yuki, and I'm the founder of Tealife. In this channel, we break down Japanese tea so you can enjoy your next cup of tea even more. The first time I encountered this, I remember looking at the instructions and it said 2 scoops of the chashaku. And to me, I was like, 2 scoops of what? Because when you take a look at the chashaku, there's like no measurements. So it's like every single time you take a scoop, the size is a little bit different. Even the chashaku itself, there's a bigger chashaku and there's a smaller chashaku. And then, as I just said, when you scoop the matcha, the way it clumps is very different as well. So you might have a higher clump or bigger clump, and the measurements would be different every single time. I was thinking, just give me a teaspoon. This thing is a lot more precise. 15 milliliters every single time you measure. Precise, accurate, consistent. So isn't this tool better than this chashaku thing? I'm a Japanese, and when you think about Japanese, what do you think about? You think about precision, right? So precision and accuracy and quality. And I felt that this would be a more accurate tool compared to this thing. This tool made absolutely no sense at all. So later on, I was discussing with my mentor about this. I was asking him, instead of using the chashaku, shouldn't we use a teaspoon? And I went through the whole logic here. It's not precise, and because of the variance, I felt that my matcha skills aren't really getting better because every single time it feels different. He said, Yuki, you're completely missing the point. You're not supposed to measure with a chashaku. And I was like, I thought it says 2 scoops. I thought that was what the tool is for. I was completely confused. So this is what my mentor was actually trying to get me to see. And there's 3 things I took away from this conversation. The first one was that the chashaku was not standardizing on purpose. And when you think about it, matcha itself is different from matcha to matcha, right? Some matcha, they're better when it's made a little bit thick. And then some matcha is a bit thin. So there's variances in the matcha itself. And then not just the matcha, but customers are different too. Adult guest will be different from a child guest, and someone who's been, drinking matcha for years and years would have different preferences in terms of the thickness as opposed to someone who's just started drinking matcha. So that's why you want to adjust case by case. No 2 teas are basically the same. So this is a lot like cooking. Add a pinch of salt, and I'm always thinking, how many grams exactly is a pinch of salt? It's different every single time because the ingredients of the saltiness of the ingredients might be different, and so maybe the wateriness of the ingredients might be different. So it's a lot like that. If you go to like high-end fusion French restaurant, if you see the chef suddenly whipping out a teaspoon to measure their salt, you wouldn't really be comfortable paying a lot of money for that, right? The chashaku is meant not to standardize the matcha amount because every single tea is different. The second thing I took away from this conversation from my mentor is the fact that because it's not standardized, it forces you to focus. And that's very important. When you think about it, if you use a teaspoon, you can just take the matcha up to here, and then every single time it's going to be the same. So you don't really have to think about this. You can approach this in a very methodical manner. If you use a chashaku, every single scoop is going to be different. So you have to think. You have to think, okay, what kind of bowl do I want to make? Oops, this first scoop was a little bit more than I thought, so the second scoop has to be a little bit smaller. And you have to think about the customers, as I just mentioned. So there's a lot of thinking that goes into making the bowl of matcha. And when you think about it, isn't that the point of serving a guest? You want to put a lot of thought and care so that person will be happy and they'll appreciate that gesture. And yes, it's a higher risk. You can make mistakes. It can fail. But at the same time, it's a higher reward. Because come to think of it, it's kind of like live music as opposed to like a recorded music. Live music is absolutely a lot more riskier. However, if it goes out well, then it lands harder. And that's exactly what this piece of stick, this chashaku, forces you to do. There's one more thing I wanted to leave you with regards to the chashaku, and if you have a chashaku, this could be the most important part in the video, so make sure you listen. You might still be thinking that this chashaku is just a piece of stick, so it can probably be mass-produced. If that's the case, let me tell you a story that really changed my perception about this object. Tanimura-san from Suikaen, he was over in Singapore the other day, so I had the opportunity to ask him lots of questions. And of course, Tanimura-san is a chasen maker, so he produces bamboo whisks, the whisks that you mix the matcha with. He also produces chashaku as well, so he supplies chashaku and bamboo whisks to us. As I was asking lots of questions, at one point we started to talk about the chashaku. What Tanimura-san said was extremely interesting. He said that this seemingly very simple craft is actually extremely difficult to make. The process is simple. All you do is take this piece of bamboo and then you bend it. You take a candle, you light the candle, and with the warmth of the candle, you use your finger to bend, is how I understand you make this chashaku. The difficult part is when you bend it, the fibers in the back of the bamboo, this is very fragile, so they will break. And the idea is to try to bend this so the fibers don't break. The bamboos are so precious these days in Japan. It's not like you can take bamboo after bamboo and continue to make them until you get the right one. Even if you buy a chashaku at a proper Japanese craftsman, it's still actually very hard to find one that has no breakage in the back. What usually would happen is if there is some breakage, they would sandpaper it off so it's less obvious. This particular chashaku is from Suikaen. So this is the one that Tanimura-san supplied to us. And this is special because it has no breakage in the back. It's very beautiful. I wanted to share this story with you because, again, this chashaku is seemingly so simple and so natural. However, there's so much complexity behind why it's shaped this way and so much difficulty behind how it's made as well. So I thought it really is a great encapsulation of the Japanese tea culture, and not just that, but the Japanese culture in general. Let's hear your verdict. Do you agree with me that this is probably the deepest piece of stick that you'll ever encounter in your life? If you agree, please write that you agree.